I did it, like one of the pitch competitions right before I stopped pitching with VitalSines was this competition called Pitch at Palace. Do you remember that? And
No,
it
I
was put
don't
on
remember
by
that.
Prince Andrew.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Sarah, welcome to Unleashed, the dark art of making ideas happen, the podcast. A long name, I know. So it's this is like the perfect Sarah that I know. Catching you in the action because you're always doing action. So what you're up to and what the hell are these boxes at the back?
Well, about a year ago, I started a new business. I spent, how we first met. I was in tech for a good 7 years, and I started a passion project about a year and a half ago. But we launched and have a commercial ready product. We just launched. Um, and so I've been running to my packaging facility every few days now because we keep selling it online. So what these are, I'll show you. So we have a product. It's called Chiwis. It's a food product, so far different from the tech space. Um, but it's 100% natural, never anything added ever. Fruit chips. So we focus on kiwis because they're super delicious. They're super fruits, actually, and they're really underused in snacks. And so I was a nutritionist before tech, and I just made these for people all the time. Going like we live in Squamish, very active outdoors, like hiking, camping. It was just a snack I made all the time, and people loved them and thought they were so different and I couldn't believe it. And I did a lot of market testing on the side, still working at VitalSines while I was doing it, and people loved it. And so yeah, now I run a. Oh shoot, can you see me?
Yeah, I can see you now.
Yeah, so now I run a food company.
So congratulations first. I was like when I was checking out your LinkedIn, it's like what happened to Vital Signs? Because that's what I remember you for. And then what is this Chewies thing? This is exciting. I want to know more. So you're an entrepreneur and you still, I mean, being an entrepreneur itself is a demanding, it's a lot of demand on your time and energy. And I didn't know you're a nutritionist, by the way, because all we talked about is tech when we sat down and
Hmm.
talked. And on the side you had a passion project. So tell us about that. Like, how can you be an entrepreneur which is already a work of passion and you have a passion project?
Um, Well, I've always been really interested in making super healthy foods for my friends and family that
Mm.
they didn't need to be health nuts to want to eat. And so this was just something that I made on the side, and I got really excited when people really liked it. And so I'm still passionate about VitalSines. I'm on the board. I'm a advisor for the company. I help them whatever way I can. But while I was full time with them, I just kind of I had built that company, so the thought of building another one was really exciting and fun and in a totally new industry. And so I just had a blast doing it just at night, like creating a brand and prototypes just to test around to see if it was even viable and meeting all these new people in an industry and learning from them if this is even like viable or a good idea. And now getting to where we are now, everything I did in tech has made making Chiwis just like so much easier, I think, and less daunting. It's still super stressful, like being an entrepreneur. It's the world on your shoulders a little bit, but it's been super fun. And the food industry is like so different. But a funny thing is like after being it with VitalSines, like you saw me pitch so many times. I was constantly pitching and doing competitions. And with Chiwis, when I would tell people that I was doing this new thing, they were so excited, and it was the fundraising process was like so much easier, and people were just really wanted to be a part of it.
Oh,
It
wow.
was nuts. Yeah, it's very different.
Cool. So, have you always been this entrepreneurial? I mean, I know you as the driven entrepreneur that you are, and I don't want to define you by that, but you've always shown up as like full with energy. Even, I mean, Vital Signs is a hard process. You're working in a medical product. It's a health it's challenging, but you're always driven. Have you always had this desire to build something all the time, like when you were before you started Vital Signs, while you're studying or stuff like that?
When I finished school, I did a couple of practicums in companies. Like I was doing, I went to Capilano I went to school for journalism first, and then I moved to BC. Didn't finish that schooling and lived in Whistler for 5 years. And after I was done doing that and snowboarding a ton, I went back to school and studied arts and entertainment management and at CAP. And I did 2 practicums in companies that I wanted to work with. And then after I was done, I immediately started my own company, doing what I kind of learned in my practicums, which was fun, but it wasn't super rewarding. And then I went back to school, became a nutritionist, and immediately started my own company, consulting and doing talks and helping people. And then I started helping with VitalSines on the side, and that kind of just snowballed. And I was just working on marketing with VitalSines, and it snowballed to me running the company because I just had my hand in every pot. Can you just hold on a second? I'm going to put my battery on a different mode so it saves. I just know
Go for it. No, that's awesome.
Out.
And just for context for everybody who's listening, is like I checked in with Sarah if it's okay to do the podcast or not, and it's like it's great to catch you in action. So I think that's amazing. So I didn't want to lose the opportunity. This is like perfect moment.
No.
So this is fascinating. You went to school, then went out, then went to school again, then went out, and then went to school again, like 3 times. So
yeah, I'd love to go to school more. Honestly, I love. I actually when I was when I was growing up, as a teenager, I hated school. Growing up, I was just like very much wanted to do my own thing, and it took moving to Whistler and just being, I don't know, it changed me a lot. And then when I went back, I was like stoked. I was pumped to go back and do really well, and I hadn't really experienced that before. Like nothing really grabbed me. And now I just like, I would go to school again for sure. Like I love it. And also just like, creating companies, you're learning constantly, right? So it's all been kind of learning along the way, but yeah, I'd go back.
Cool. So tell me a little bit about that, because I work with young entrepreneurs and youth in general. And also I have a son that is now 16. And there is that challenge of, I don't know what I'm passionate about, and the world kind of pushes all of us, like, you need to make a decision. There's 2 years left, and you need to make a decision of what your trajectory that will kind of define where you're going in life. And there's that pressure. What am I going to do? How am I going to work? So what was kind of your mindset like? And you said nothing grabbed you, you said, but then, and you didn't even like school, and then you liked it. Can you tell me a little bit about that? I'm curious, especially the kind of entrepreneur that you are right now.
I think I had more of an ownership on it. Like I look back and I wish that I had liked it more in high school. I would have definitely learned more, but I don't know, there was just other things that I was interested in, and it's totally changed. And my passions, like, I would have never thought that I was going to start working in a health tech company, like, and like love it. And I was like running around talking about aortic stiffness and, like, I would have never thought that. And working with my dad as well, like, that doesn't seem like something that would have been something I'd be passionate about. And I was for 7 years. I still am passionate about that project. Even growing up, like, I would have never thought, I love nutrition. Like, I loved like steak and potatoes as a kid. I didn't like any weird food. I love everything like under the sun now. So I think like putting yourself in a box didn't work for me. Like if you asked me what I wanted to do when I was 16, I wanted a condo in downtown Toronto, and I wanted to I didn't even know what I wanted to do. And now I like live in the mountains and run a food business.
Wow. Can you talk a little bit about the process or the joy of discovery? Because it sounds like the ideas that you had, it's not like, hey, this is an idea that's percolating and is there in your mind. It's kind of like, it sounds like you stumbled on it. It's like you stumbled across this, you started making health food, and then you stumbled. It's not like, hey, wouldn't it be great to it's not like that perfect story. Wouldn't it be great to create chips, made from kiwi or made from something, and I'll make a $1 billion company. It sounds like you discovered something, you stumbled on something. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I don't think in anything that I've done I've been like, you know what, this is $1 million idea. It's just like, this seems fun, and I see a bit of faith in it. I have a bit of faith in it. Let's see how she goes, kind of. I don't know. I don't know. about, I think a lot of people go in, maybe like people who do MBAs will go into, okay, well, I know which businesses make money, so I'm going to figure out how to get into like that kind of business and start a company doing X so I can like multiply my investment by whatever. I just never thought that. My whole outlook is like, I want to do something that's fun and makes me feel good when I wake up in the morning and keeps me passionate, or else I'm just going to like get bored and want to move on. Yeah.
That's wow. This is so important for when people like the different side of entrepreneurship from outside like, oh, this is, go into entrepreneurship, there's a ton of money, there's a lot of, or you come up with an idea. I like that you laugh because entrepreneurs know it's a lot of hard work. So can you talk a little bit about the challenges that you had? You had some good highlights with, like, I remember you going on the Dragon's Den. I don't know if you think of that as a highlight, but you definitely
Oh,
killed
it
it
was for
there.
sure.
Yeah. And there
Oh, there
was
were
there
so
was
many
challenge. Yeah,
highlights.
go ahead. Let's start with the
No,
highlights. What?
yeah, so many highlights. I loved my time in tech. Like I would say a lot of the really great things like stemmed from being at Launch Academy and being around a lot more entrepreneurs. And I really like threw myself into networking and meeting a lot of people. And I'm like still friends with a lot of the people that I met either as like entrepreneurs alongside of me or mentors that have now become my good buddies and have now invested in Chiwis. Like I did all these pitch competitions. I would have never thought I would be standing in front of giant rooms of people pitching, and like I did it, like one of the pitch competitions right before I stopped pitching with VitalSines was this competition called Pitch at Palace. Do you remember that? And
No,
it
I
was put
don't
on
remember
by
that.
Prince Andrew.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and it was a huge deal. And they went to all these provinces in Canada and chose the top 5 from each province. And myself and Ava Technologies, you know them
Oh,
from
yeah, of course.
launch as well.
Valerie.
Yeah, me and Val we went to Ontario, and we were in the Canadian finals with Prince Andrew judging. It was a real trip. And then like neither of us won, but the winners got to go like to the Palace in London, and like within 6 months he had been charged, or all of the like Jeffrey Epstein stuff started happening. It was just, that was a huge, yeah,
Oh, wow.
huge trip. Like her and I were talking about it on Facebook the other day. Like, can you believe that? It was still a very good experience, like pitching in front of some really influential people, but looking back, just like, wow, that was really nuts. But yeah, learning how to pitch and learning how to talk to tons of different people and refine business strategies and create your books and just everything. Like it was all those years of doing what I did at VitalSines made the Chiwis experience like so much nicer.
So what's happening now with Chiwis? Tell us a little bit about it. Where it is in the process of it's obviously not an idea; it's a product right now. You have a car full of them. So where is it in the process, and what are you excited about?
So it's funny because I'm like, it's been a long road and it's been really hard. But I've talked to people in the food business and they're like, you started like a year ago. I had to pivot, and now we're like in stores. But my whole idea with Chiwis was to set up a facility in Squamish and hire local women and like give back to the community and create a company that would sustain my lifestyle. Didn't care about making a ton of money, just wanted to make a nice product that could go in stores. And I moved into a facility last January, so a year ago, and it was right before COVID kind of like came on the scene. I had done a lot of research before starting the company, talked to a bunch of like food industry veterans, and I did a few courses on like how to get your product in stores, and some consulting with a really like professional woman who helps people with food, and learning about margins and everything I had to be aware of to make sure that this wasn't just going to like flop on its face. And in one of those courses I did, this president of a natural food distribution company for all of BC was speaking, and I sent him an email after and said, hey, like, I know how this goes. That's a new product. You need to get yourself into like 30 plus stores and then like to prove yourself. And I was like, I'm gonna do that, but after I do it, can I please like reach out to you? And I sent the pictures of the bags and my story, and he was like, oh no. He's like, first off, I can tell you're in tech and marketing because like these are a good looking product. And he took us on for distribution all over BC without even tasting them. And so we moved into this facility in Squamish, started self-manufacturing. I'd hired a couple people, I had bought like commercial equipment and got all the like all of the insurance, everything, food safe, everything, and started producing. And like Whole Foods really wanted them. It was just like there was demand, and I started realizing how hard it was. Like I'm not a factory manager. I'm a business development, marketing, like branding. Like I'm a front facing person, and I started realizing the amount of work that was going to go into this and the like costs as well.
Mm.
And then COVID hit, and all of a sudden I didn't have employees. We couldn't work close to each other. People were getting paid CERB to like stay home. So I kind of like took a second to, and I'd been talking to a bunch of like other, not consultants, just like people who had done really well in food and just asking them questions. Same as in tech, everyone was super helpful, really, really willing to help. And someone told me like, look, Sarah, if somebody else can, if your product isn't like super proprietary, you don't have to keep anything secret. If someone else can make it as good or better than you hire them to make it and you focus on like what you're good at. I thought like that sounds heavenly. Like, yes, I want that. And so I shut down the facility. I sold all the equipment, and I spent 6 months looking for this like special partner. Man, so hard to find these people. They do not advertise themselves. So I did like tons of trial and error with a lot of different companies, getting samples like back and forth. Long story short, found them. And so we started manufacturing, and we were launching in November. And in November, I made a huge stink on social media about the launch. You should see, I use Later for all my scheduling, just like so much, like, you know, a countdown, like from the 10th day to it was launching, all of this stuff. And not like we had tons of followers, but I went down because we package everything in Vancouver, and I went down to my packaging facility and got there, and they're like, yeah, everything looks great. And I looked at the chips. I was like, these aren't right. Like we had 500 pounds of them. I was like, these aren't, I can't use these. Like, this is the product, it's going to go into stores, and I can't have the first batch being like,
what was wrong with them? What's going on?
It seems like such a simple product to make. Like, it's a chip, it's made out of fruit, nothing's added to it, but it's actually real tough to get right. And they were just my manufacturer, it was their first time making them. Like, we had done samples, but making a giant run of them. And we were both learning together, and they were super duper sour and really over dried. It was very, very, like, the kiwis have to be a certain level of ripeness. The process, so it's a proprietary method of making them that keeps like the color really bright and the nutrients in there. It was just not the right recipe, and I just called it. I was like, no, we're not packaging any of this. I like had panic anxieties like for so long, trying to figure out what I was going to do. Felt like a real jerk. But then the manufacturer took ownership of it totally, and we were like, we had to keep working to make sure this wouldn't happen again. And so finally we relaunched like a week and a half ago, and we're already into a ton of stores.
Oh wow! So from November to you were delayed like 3 months.
It was 2 months of delay, and I've honestly, like, it was a week and a half or 2 weeks ago that we launched again, and I feel like it was 2 months ago. Like, so much has happened so far. So now, like, all of IGA and Fresh Street have signed on by Whole Foods, Nestor's Choice, like all these big stores. So it's just like gone from 0 to 100. And then with all of these back here, this is all like customer orders from online that I didn't expect to happen. I thought it would be mostly retail, but people are excited, and I'm into it.
Wow, that's awesome. So you, while working on your retail strategy, you also worked on your online. Sounds like it's close to what Tara also did, Tara Bosch as well, that she benefits from the tech learning.
That's a dream. That's a dream right there.
Because you're saying that it's like when you work on tech, there's a different approach to food. I noticed that with Tara's work on Smart Suite. So what are some of the things you took from tech that you've learned, that you applied, that you think that positions you differently than other food companies that you're competing with?
I am open to change of the product. Like, I think a lot of companies I see, it's someone made something in their kitchen and they're really like, people say they like it, and then they bring it to market. I think it's like branding is huge. Like, there was so much branding work I did with VitalSines. Like branding and positioning and making sure that it's a product that like looks amazing. so it grabs people's attention. You know, digital marketing, that kind of thing, getting people into stores, and also just like creating just a nice, friendly brand that they want to purchase from. Like, we have a story. Like, I'm really like a one-woman show right now, but I've made the product to look like it's, you know, like made by a big corporation. Like, they look really nice. Maybe I'll grab some for you. Do you want me to grab a bag so you can see?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that's awesome.
Okay,
Yeah,
hold on.
I'll
One
wait.
second. Okay, just want to make sure I don't get hit by a car over here. 1 second.
This is amazing.
Oh, you fell. I'm sorry. Okay. I only have an open bag that I was already eating today because these are all shut.
Like, it's like everyone who's wondering what it's like to catch an entrepreneur in action. This is like the most excitement that anybody's gonna get.
They're like the worst video you've ever had. But okay, so this is can you see them? This is a tropical bag.
Oh, cool.
They're empty because I ate them all. But it's kiwi chips, pineapple chips, and coconut, and like they're just super healthy. There's never anything added, so it's like the ingredients are just
never
the fruit.
In a million years I would think of fruit being like, and I mean, I eat dry fruits, so but chips, that's insane. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's just like, so our whole thing is that we make the chips so they start crispy in your mouth and then end up tasting like candy. And there's so many natural sugars in there that are like, there's no need to add anything ever. Like, They're perfect. The pineapple chips are crazy. Like, and so we're just working, like, I do R&D now with different flavors and trying to bring out like new SKUs. And yeah, so I would love for Chiwis to end up like Smart Sweets. Who wouldn't? But yeah, it's a new industry, lots of learning, see how it goes.
Yeah.
Tara, if you're listening, be my advisor.
Do you know Tara? Like, personally?
We have been at some of the same events. Meredith introduced me to her when I first started thinking about Chiwis as a viable company to start, but we never connected. Yeah. I know she's super busy. But,
she's awesome. She's a great person, and I think
you should be talking to her for this podcast.
Yeah, no, for sure. I'm planning to reach out to her because I was an advisor at Smart Sweets when it first started. So I'll be happy to introduce you to her for sure. So I'll reach out as well and give her a nudge if that helps, because you're awesome.
Amazing.
You're an entrepreneur. Yeah, for sure. That's great. So what is next? Like, it seems like you're on your way. You've had some of the trials and tribulation, and like that's a major scare when that happened, when you worked into the product. I want to definitely dig deep into what were your like condition at that time to deal with this. Let's actually do that. I mean, that happened. I don't want to bring you back to a bad kind of point.
Oh, don't worry about it. I'm okay. Yeah. I'm fine to talk about any of this.
What was it like? I mean, you're just excited. You said you built up all this hype for the launch, and then suddenly, like, all of it's like, oh my God, it's gone. How it was going through your head, and how did you handle yourself, and how did you handle the outside world as well?
Oh man, the feeling of driving back to Squamish after that, like, 'cause I was so excited heading down. People were waiting on orders. My distributor was waiting on like pallets of cases, and I just felt like dejected. But I'm actually kind of happy it happened, because I was like, there's one thing about getting too cocky, like, things are going really well. I just needed to be taken down a peg, I think. But it was good to have that learning experience. One thing that helped, like, I have a really good support system of people around me, and so I was able to vent a lot. And like, shit happens, and it can't, like, even like making your whole life about this business is just asking for trouble, right? Like, I have so many other things in my life that bring me happiness, and so it wasn't too hard for me to kind of be like, okay, well, I need to breathe. And it was on a Friday too, and so I like emailed my manufacturer right away, but they weren't like getting back to me till Monday. Didn't talk to them until then, so I spent the whole weekend freaking out a little bit. But when I talked to them, they were like, okay, well, we have all these products scheduled to make, so we can't get you in for a bit. And I had to just take that. I had to be like, okay, there's a delay. And then I just decided that I was going to go to Whistler a bunch while I was waiting, and I got 21 days of snowboarding in. Like, whatever, there you go. I had to deal with it somehow. I think it's really easy to get super depressed, especially with tech. I did so many pitch competitions, and I won a bunch of them, and I lost so many more. Like, it's just dealing with stress and kind of brushing things off as best you can.
Yeah.
It sucked. But
Yeah.
get over it.
I've always loved that spirit of, about you. One thing that's important that you said is there is other things that brings you happiness in life. I think that's so important, that a lot of entrepreneurs get their sense of value from their startup and the work that we do. I mean, a lot of people in general get their sense of value from the work they do, and success and failure in that work kind of gets attached to self-worth somehow and how they feel about themselves. So it's so important that you're saying that was that always something like that in your life that you've had, where your sense of value doesn't relate to the things you do, or is something you developed along the way? Can you speak a little bit to that? It's so important that at least for me, it hits deep.
I definitely developed it along the way. When I started working with VitalSines and started doing those pitch competitions, like, when you win, you feel so good, and like you're sharing stuff. And in tech, man, the like, this person raised X amount of dollars. This, you feel like you're competing all the time, and especially as a woman, that was really hard. It was just really, really tough. So you kind of learn to be resilient and try not to let that stuff bother you. But I'm much better at it now, especially living closer to nature. Like, that's my outlet. Like, if I can go for a hike or like do something with my dog, like, you just go out in the mountains. You're like, does anything really matter that much to like mess with my entire life and feelings? No, I don't think so.
That's super cool. It's super wise as well. So what is next for you? What is the if you had to choose, wave a magic wand and like say, here's how I would create the next few years for Chiwis or for you as an entrepreneur, what would that look like?
I'd like to, within the next like 12 months, get 12 to 16 months, get Chiwis everywhere across Canada, and then into the States. And 3 to 5 years, I would hope to have an acquisition. Yeah.
Cool. I wish
And
you
then
all
do
the
something
best
else.
on that. Yeah. Oh, you're already. I love that. It's like already, it's like, oh, do something else. So, what is
Yeah.
it like? Like, what is? Can you just go a little bit deeper into the joy of creating and the joy of coming up with an idea and developing it, even though with the challenge that comes with it? Can you talk about what it means to you and how do you feel about that?
Well, it's a real trip when you see like something like it's just so crazy to me that I have this product that people are buying and that's going on like grocery store shelves. That comes a long way from just making them in your kitchen, you know, like it's really, really cool. I think with VitalSines, because I developed it with my dad and it was his baby, like he's the inventor behind the methods that we use to calculate aortic stiffness. And, you know, we didn't make the device. It was made by a manufacturer. It wasn't on store shelves. We like sold it and I pitched it all the time, but it's a very different thing. Like this, that was his and I wanted to make his dream a reality, and this one's mine. And so it's just really nice. And it's nice to have like people around you who are supportive, also being really excited about it, not just because like they want to make you feel better, but because they're very pumped. Like having some of my friends who became investors or who were mentors before have so much faith in me. Like before I even had a real product out, they were just like, no, we trust you. So do you need money to grow? Like, oh my God, this is different.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
excellent. That's excellent. And a couple of last thing, and I'll let you go because I know you're going somewhere. But what
Oh,
a
don't worry. I'm
you're
good.
happy.
I have seat heat.
All right, good. Is it you were kind of you stood out as someone who's to me at least, you participated in the community. Like you immediately got the sense of community when you were at Launch Academy. You were like, coming to mentorship, and also I think contributed. You would show up, and you're always there. What's it like to? How important is it to have a sense of community and to have people around you? You spoke a little bit of that, how that helped you in the time of being down, but how important is it to have mentors, to have, to be surrounded with other fellow entrepreneurs for you as an entrepreneur?
Oh my God, having mentors and people who have been in your shoes is so valuable. Because when you're an entrepreneur, you can get super duper excited about your own ideas and they sound great. And when you say them to some people, it can be scary because you might not get the same positive feedback as you get in your own brain. But it's so important to hear that, be it positive or negative. And then to just like take advice from people who you respect and whose story and products you like. You can get overwhelmed. I remember like speaking with too many people and then it just gets muddied. But if you find like, I would go to these courses or events and hear people speak, and then I would reach out and, you forge friendships, and then you can really say like, am I doing this right? Is there something that I could be doing better so I can like either skip these steps or make sure I don't totally mess this up? Having that behind you and these people who are willing to support you, I think is so important. I even said like, in the tech game, I remember people would always ask that, and I was like, just surround yourself with people who are smarter than you and have done more, because you don't know everything. I don't know everything. I'm never going to know everything. So I'm always willing to take help.
That's awesome. So what are the some of the biggest, if you were to look back and say, here are the biggest lessons that that I would give to any entrepreneur. So put yourself in the mentor shoes right now. And what would like the biggest pieces of advice for starting entrepreneurs?
Definitely to find your people and your mentors. Find outlets that aren't work that you can do and get away and disconnect. Because I remember I was so excited. I think it was like 2 years in at VitalSines. And I was just like, go, working all the time. And I loved it, but I got burnt out, and it sucks. So you really need to be able to disconnect, and be it like going to the gym or like just playing a video game, just doing anything that will take you away from that and give you time to rest, because things can get really intense really fast. And it's just not good for your health to be that in it. I remember at a lot of the pitch competitions, people would be like, oh my God, well, how many hours a day do you work? Like, it was a competition. And honestly, I want to work 8 hours a day. I want to work 8 hours a day. I want to do fun stuff. And like, what's the point of working 16 hours a day? That's not living for me. Like, take time to enjoy life. And like, it's not all about money. Money's good, but like in business, success is good, but it's not everything.
Yeah. 100%. What is it that you want some of the people listening to do? Obviously, buy Chiwis. Is that how you say Chiwis?
Chiwis.
Like, Chiwis. Okay.
We made, so it's like kiwi chips together.
Yeah.
If you go, our website is www.chiwis.co. So it's CHIWIS. And if you use the code BUDDY10OFF, it's all spelled, so BUDDYTENOFF, you get 10% off. We're doing that just for like another couple weeks because we just launched. And they'll be in stores all over BC really soon. So if you want to wait and you just want to get one, you can go to Whole Foods or IGA, Fresh Street Market, Choices, places like that.
Yeah, definitely one of one of the top items on my order list for sure. Sarah, it's been awesome talking to you. It's thanks for being generous and accepting to do this on video while you're at your car with all these boxes. I really appreciate it. Catching you in the act, literally the act of entrepreneurship. This is insanely awesome. Yeah, had a blast talking with you. Thanks for being here, and wish you all the best.
Yeah, thanks. So nice talking to you.